And in the News Center this afternoon is NewsNation political contributor Denise Gitsham and SiriusXM host Reecie Colbert. I want to start with you. We're going to break down all of what we have been listening to over the last day and week. Denise, one of the documents released that we want to talk about asserted, quote, "We assess that vote tabulation systems would be difficult to manipulate on a wide enough scale to compromise election results." All right, so that's a big pull from that paperwork. Do you see any inconsistencies with what the president asserted, and have there been any new takeaways from the actual documents released, in your opinion?
I didn't get the sense that there was a smoking gun from anything the president said last night. What I actually think he did was lay the foundation for establishing sort of an aura of confusion and or just mistrust in what are rightfully, I have to point this out as somebody who's spent a lot of time as a Republican lawyer on the ground in states, in battleground states, these are things that he raised that have been considered by voting specialists and election poll watchers like me over and over to say, hey, there are things that are not consistent with what we expect as American citizens in regards to the integrity of our elections. And this has been said for decades. I've been out poll watching for probably 20 years. And every time we have an election that's close, we get a sense that there's something quite not right. And we're not sure what that is, but I think the president wants to make sure that we go down that rabbit hole, which I think is actually good for democracy, because the more transparency we have, the more certain we can be that our election outcomes are actually legitimate.
Yeah, and Reecie, I want to get your take on this as well, and you too, Denise. But Reecie, I'll start with you. The DHS Secretary Markwayne Mullin earlier today touched on the goals of the White House when it does come to addressing voting systems. Let's listen to it together.
Everybody that purposely misled the American people, abused their power and their authority, and decided not to continue doing their job will be held accountable. What does that accountability look like? I don't know. Is it criminal? We'll pursue criminal charges. If it is not criminal, we'll make sure you never work for the federal government again and you never have the ability to have a clearance again.
Reecie, I want to get your take on this as well. Do you think that voters want this to be the top focus of the White House right now, or what did you make of what he said?
Absolutely not. I mean, I think there's merit to securing election, but there is a difference between securing elections and suppressing the vote. And that is basically what Donald Trump has put forward. The reality is that if our elections were so insecure and if China was behind it, then why did the president not take the opportunity last night to announce sanctions for China? This is what President Obama did when Russia interfered, according to intelligence reports. He expelled diplomats. He closed down a compound. And Donald Trump hasn't said anything about what the consequences will be for China. Instead, he's going to make it harder for Americans to vote. And that is not what Americans want. They want the president actually focused on bringing down the prices of gas and groceries and things of that nature. Or how about this outbreak of this causing explosive diarrhea? Why don't we focus on that?
Well, yeah, a lot of people do have questions about that. Everybody's talking about, is it safe to eat a salad or not? But back to the messaging of the White House, Denise, the same question for you. Do you think that this is what voters want the attention to be on right now and the top focus of the White House?
I think you can walk and chew gum, but I think that right now, given how close we are to the midterms, and how squeezed Americans feel, I agree with Reecie that this isn't the main thing. And, one thing I just want to push back a little bit on is actually Pew Research has said that 83% of Americans support requiring photo ID in order to vote. And I don't think 83% of Americans want to suppress the vote. They think that's really basic. In fact, over 170 democratic countries require photo ID, and in third world countries, especially across Africa, the developing countries, we actually have biometric data that's required in order for people to vote. It's even more intense than what we are even proposing, which is basic photo ID. I just don't believe that 83% of Americans polled actually want to suppress the vote. I just think they want to make sure that people are who they say they are. And that makes sense because knowing that they are enables us to trust the outcome of the elections. That's all that it's about, is let's believe in what we're delivering, right? When we have a vote and we make that effort to get to the polls or we mail in our ballot, let's make sure that those are being handled well so that we can say with confidence this person won or lost.
Right. All right. Well, while I have you both, before I let you go, I want to get your thoughts on something happening on the other side of the aisle. Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on the campaign trail. They're in Michigan right now, and they're stumping for Abdul El-Sayed, the progressive candidate in that critical Senate race. This is something that we're watching closely to see how this is all going to shake out. Denise, who do you want to see on the ballot? Which candidate do you think is more vulnerable at this point? Because a lot of eyes are on this race and Saeed or Haley Stevens. What do you think?
Well, I can't help but pull for Haley Stevens, only because El-Sayed is a self-admitted millionaire whose 2025 tax filings showed over $600,000 in household income, which puts him comfortably in the top 1% of all Michigan earners. And he's running against Representative Haley Stevens, whose net worth is actually negative. So I feel like this is some sort of farce that he's trying to impose this like socialist vision for something that doesn't even apply to him. Not only that, but he calls doctors who refuse Medicaid discriminatory, but his own wife, a psychiatrist, refuses Medicaid patients and he relies on big money PAC donations that he's railed against. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw AOC and Bernie, who also rail against, billionaires and oligarchs, flying in on their private charter jets, which is what 75% of their travel amounts to in this, fighting oligarchy tour, to go campaign for someone like this. I hope Haley Stevens comes out, even though I think she would be harder to beat in a general election for Republicans.
All right. Well, Reecie, I want to give you a chance to respond to that. And also, while you're thinking about it, a new Detroit News poll is suggesting that Democratic Congresswoman Haley Stevens is leading that race by about 7 points. So we want to check in with the numbers on that. Do you see that as evidence that not all of the country is ready for the progressive politics that we've seen thrive on the ballot in places like New York and California? And what do you make of this current race?
Well, I think that Democratic voters are more sophisticated than just simply choosing based on slogans and a couple of other things that kind of dominate the punditry and dominate the online conversation. Mm-hmm. And that's why I think that we don't have kingmakers anymore. I think that it's great that AOC and Bernie Sanders are supporting who they want to support, but I think that ultimately the constituents will support who they feel has the most credibility and the record that resonates with them and who they want to represent them in the Senate.
All right. Thank you very much for weighing in on all of that. Denise Gitsham, Reecie Colbert, thank you very much, and we will see you next hour as well. And tune in to The Hill Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern. Chris Stirewalt